In the northeastern part of the Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by the island of Great Britain, the Norwegian shoreline, the Jutland Peninsula of Denmark, and the coastal regions of Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France, you'll find the North Sea. Known for hosting some of Northern Europe's most vital shipping lanes, sites of historic conflicts, and a foundation for economic prosperity, this marginal sea is filled with geographical wonders, resources hidden beneath its seabed, and a complex history that has influenced the development of European nations for millennia. In this video, we'll explore these fascinating elements and discover what makes the North Sea truly remarkable. Chapter 1. Geography of the North Sea. Just east of the Channel Tunnel, near the modest Leathercoat Point in England and the Walde Lighthouse in France, the almost legendary North Sea begins to expand across more than 500,000 square kilometers, or 220,000 square miles, over the broad European continental shelf. This immense area boasts diverse bathymetry, referring to the seabed's topography, and its coastal landscapes vary from striking fjords and towering dunes to mudflats and iconic chalk cliffs. Starting at the Strait of Dover, the first part of the North Sea is the Southern Bight. This region is defined by its heavy maritime traffic, connecting England and Central Europe to global trade networks. 4 of Europe's largest ports are located here, with Rotterdam and Antwerp ranking as the continent's top 2 ports by annual cargo tonnage. Continuing northeast along the Dutch coast, we reach the Frisian Front, a 450-kilometer-long archipelago featuring flat, sandy dune islands that stretch along the German Bight. Around 12,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, sea levels were approximately 60 meters, or 200 feet, lower than they are today. At that time, a vast network of towering dunes covered the low-lying area in front of Germany's coastline. As sea levels rose, the water eventually breached the natural dikes in multiple places, flooding the land behind and leaving behind a chain of islands as remnants of what was once dry terrain. These islands now protect the mudflats known as the Wadden Sea, which stretches along the coasts of the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark. This region is classified as an intertidal zone, meaning it is submerged during high tide, but revealed as the water recedes with each tidal cycle. These dynamic conditions have fostered one of the most ecologically diverse habitats in Northern Europe, home to hundreds of thousands of geese, ducks, wading birds, seagulls, and herons that feed on small invertebrates and fish. Moving from the sandy shores of Jutland, the landscape transforms dramatically as we cross the Skagerrak, the strait linking the North Sea to the Baltic Sea. Instead of rolling dunes, we encounter a rugged, rocky coastline dotted with small islands and narrow inlets. As we travel further north, the rocky terrain gradually gives way to hills and then mountains, forming Norway's stunning fjord landscapes. Towering cliffs, hundreds of meters high, drop into deep salmon-rich trenches, offering a glimpse of the dramatic seascape that lies just beyond the fjords. Stretching from Oslo to Bergen, the Norwegian Trench reaches depths of up to 700 meters, or 2,300 feet, marking the deepest part of the North Sea. Geologists believe this trench once served as a pathway for massive glacial ice sheets that were pushed from the Scandinavian mainland toward the coast. The trench eventually opens into the deeper Norwegian Sea, which is separated from the North Sea by the 61st parallel north. To the west, the Shetland and Orkney Islands of Scotland form part of the North Sea's boundary. Much like Norway's coastline, these islands feature rugged, mountainous shores. The seabed off the coasts of Scotland and England is dotted with numerous sandbanks and trenches, ranging in depth from just a few meters on the banks to over 450 meters, or 1,500 feet, at the deepest point near the Devil's Hole. Many of these trenches are thought to have been ancient riverbeds carved during past ice ages, while the sandbanks are believed to be moraines, formed by debris left behind by glaciers as they moved across the land. The final notable bathymetric feature of the North Sea before it meets the English Channel is the Dogger Bank, a vast sandbank stretching over 260 by 100 kilometers in the southwestern part of the North Sea. Its shallowest areas lie just 15 meters, or 50 feet, below sea level. This sandbank is one of the most productive marine habitats, supporting rich biodiversity and serving as a fishing ground for centuries. For just as long, the Dogger Bank, and indeed the entire North Sea, has been a contested zone among European powers, dating back to the Roman conquest of Britain in 43 CE. Countless wars have been fought on its waters, while its trade routes have connected the peoples of Northern Europe, bringing us to Chapter 2: The North Sea in History. For thousands of years, the North Sea has both connected and divided the nations surrounding it, often playing a central role in the continent's conflicts. As early as the Roman Empire, when Emperor Claudius launched the formal invasion of southern Britain, ports and trade routes were established, linking the European mainland to southern Britain. Over the centuries that followed, a recurring pattern emerged. Control of the North Sea's naval supremacy often determined which power dominated northern Europe. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the Vikings became the next dominant force, mastering the North Sea with their sleek, agile rowing boats and extending their influence to any land reachable by water. In response to Scandinavian raids on villages and ports across the North and Baltic Seas, even reaching deep into Central Europe via its major rivers, merchant guilds in northern Germany began to collaborate. They organized protected trading ports and routes along the coastlines. The origins of the Hanseatic League are unclear, as there was no single event that led to its formation. Instead, this network of merchants gradually expanded over centuries, forging alliances with trading ports and eventually encompassing most coastal cities in northern Germany, the Netherlands, and present-day Belgium. At its peak, the Hanseatic League exerted influence from London to Novgorod in Russia, wielding political and economic power comparable to major nations of its time. With advancements in shipbuilding and navigation, the Dutch, and later the British, emerged as dominant seafaring nations. Over time, they gradually surpassed the Hanseatic League's significance in the North Sea, paving the way for their own global empires. By the late 17th century, Britain had secured naval supremacy over European waters, including the North Sea, a position it maintained well into the 20th century. The North Sea once again became strategically important during both World Wars, as it was Germany's sole oceanic supply route. Instead of engaging in large-scale naval battles, the Allies focused on a blockade strategy, severely disrupting German supply lines. This approach played a crucial role in shaping the outcome of both conflicts. Following the end of World War II, the North Sea entered a new chapter. For the first time in history, all bordering nations became part of a single military alliance, NATO. This marked a dramatic shift in how the region was perceived, transforming it from a strategic battleground into a key area for trade, communication, and economic cooperation. This transformation accelerated even further when a valuable resource, black, viscous, and hidden beneath the seabed, was discovered, ushering in a new era of economic development in the region. Chapter 3: Oil in the North Sea. In the aftermath of World War II, Western Europe underwent a significant cultural shift, characterized by rapid industrial recovery, increasing consumerism, and the mass adoption of private cars. This surge in automobile use and economic expansion created an immense demand for oil. However, domestic oil production in the UK and parts of Germany was insufficient to meet these growing energy needs. As a result, Western Europe became highly reliant on oil imports from the Middle East. This dynamic underwent a complete shift in 1959 when the Netherlands made a major natural gas discovery at the Groningen gas field in the country's northeast. Located about 3,000 meters, 10,000 feet, underground, this vast reservoir caught the attention of many northern European nations, as it suggested the potential for further fossil fuel reserves beneath the continental shelf. This prospect sparked intense interest, particularly from Norway and the UK, the two countries with the largest exclusive economic zones, EEZ, in the North Sea. Both nations launched extensive exploration efforts, drilling hundreds of test wells in the years that followed. For Norway, Success did not come easily. After more than 200 attempts at various sites across the North Sea, everything changed in 1969. Near the central region of the North Sea, where the EEZs of Norway, the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark converge, Norway discovered one of the largest oil fields in the region, the Ekofisk oil field. This discovery transformed Norway's economy overnight. Once reliant on fishing and timber, the country rapidly became one of the world's largest and wealthiest oil producers. The UK soon followed with major discoveries of its own. Over the next 3 decades, oil production surged, and Norway quickly achieved one of the highest per capita oil production rates in the world, bringing immense prosperity to the nation. However, the extraction of oil and gas has not always been a smooth journey for those working offshore. Over the past 60 years, numerous disasters have claimed the lives of hundreds of offshore workers. From catastrophic oil rig explosions, such as the Piper Alpha tragedy in 1988, which killed 165 people, to violent storms and towering waves battering platforms, the North Sea remains a highly dangerous environment. Although its relatively shallow depth might seem like an advantage, the combination of strong tides, storm surges from the Atlantic, and the sea's unique topography intensifies waves, making conditions even more perilous. Moreover, the North Sea's fossil fuel reserves are not infinite, nor can they be replenished within a human timescale. Since extraction began, estimates suggest that between 60% and 80% of all accessible oil has already been depleted. Rising operational costs, combined with growing awareness of the severe environmental consequences of fossil fuel use, have contributed to a steady decline in production capacity since the early 2000s. As the era of oil and gas in the North Sea draws to a close, a new industry is emerging to take its place. Year after year, offshore wind farms are being developed along the coasts of North Sea nations. Large-scale projects, such as those in the Doggerbank and Hanseatic zone, are already underway, ensuring the industry's rapid expansion. Once again, the North Sea is poised to play a critical role in supplying Europe with energy, this time through renewable sources. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the geography and history of the North Sea. If you found it interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me keep making these mini documentaries.